Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
I just want to share with you this poem as we begin. Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky. Think about that. The sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." No transactional relationship there. It's just shining, and the earth is receiving, right? And then the earth is blessing us with plants and food and vegetables, right? And all life that requires photosynthesis and, of course, many gifts that we get from the sun. That's a poem by Daniel Ladinsky. It's from his book, The Gift, and actually it's a translation of poems by the great Sufi poet, Hafiz, or some people say Hafez. And Ladinsky has said that his work with Hafiz is an attempt to do the impossible, and the impossible is to render light into words. That is his passion, to render light into words, to make the luminous resonance of God tangible to our finite senses through language. So hopefully we felt that. He used his gifts in this way to bring light to the world. So how can we each do that in our own way, to bring our individual light to the world? We each have unique gifts that we've been endowed with, and we can bring forward in the way that is ours to do. And this is the conclusion of our series on This Life is Yours, which is Reverend Linda Martella Whitsitt and Alicia Whitsitt's book. We've had a wonderful series, so usually when we come to the end of these spiritual book series, it's okay, now go do it. Go be that, go express that. And we're always teaching that in Unity. Our fifth Unity basic principle is it's not enough to know the truth. Our work is to live it, to express it, to be spirit in action, and to shine our light. When Linda was here in February, she was our guest instructor for our Spiritual Education and Enrichment Week, and her theme was, "You are the light of the world." So that's her main message, and that's Unity's as well, so it works really well for us. So what is light? What is light to you? What does that mean? I think it can mean something different depending on how we experience it, because it really is experiential, isn't it? What we know light to be. We know physical light, like whether it's dark or light. But as far as inner light, when we're talking about essence, right, our spirit, we can experience it as radiance, energy that radiates from our body. Think about what you experienced in our meditation tonight as you felt that light radiate from your heart and expand throughout your body. And this is the light being self that we are. We can experience it as a twinkle in somebody's eye as you see the light there. You feel it. Some people feel it like magic. It feels like some kind of magical energy, an energy shift. When we allow gratitude, when we allow joy, when we allow feeling of alignment, a great sense of peace, those are all ways that we express the spirit that we are, and we can experience our light, and we may experience our light differently depending on what's going on in our lives. So if we're in grief, that doesn't mean that light is absent. We may experience our light as a comforting and healing presence. When you come from this aspect of yourself, your higher nature, then you become a light bringer to this planet. And what more wonderful work and work that we all have the capacity to do, to be a light bringer and help to shift the consciousness of the space that you're in, to bring more light, to bring more peace and love, and shift the consciousness of the planet. I was thinking of an example of this experience of a new member who came to Unity, and she was sharing with me, it was really cool, she said that when she first started attending Unity, and I don't know about you, but some people, they come in a little skeptical. Why does everybody seem so happy? They're all huggy and lovey, and what's going on? Is that real? Is that like a fake thing? And they just put in that on when they come to church, and then they're, I don't know. Not like that. People were looking for authenticity, right? Really, that's a very important value for us, right? And so she said to me when she saw me on stage on Sundays when I was platforming, I had this big smile. She thought, oh, that has to be a fake. she just so that's fake. And then she said, well, as she got to know me, that she discovered that it was, she experienced a genuineness to that. She was really projecting that experience onto me. And what I share with her is really what I live by, that I believe that joy is a choice. Like I could bring my focus to my problems and just live in that energy and be in victim consciousness and spread that energy around the world. And sometimes I do that. I have my pity party, so I'm grateful for those who support me when I'm in that space. And my intention is to, I can have that experience of what stuff, there's always stuff happening in our lives, and know the truth. We can do both. We have that ability. It's called pivotal consciousness, where we can know the truth and we can see the human circumstances. And I'm so grateful for her sharing that, having that raw kind of conversation. That's what we do here. We're authentic with each other and we share with that way. And I've had many challenges in the past year, and those challenges remind me of we just really don't know how long we're here, and whether it's here at this church or in this city or on this planet. And so I intend to bring my best self rather than my small self. And that's a choice that we can make as we intend and take action to be a light in the world. So our false thinking shows up when we think about expanding our spiritual energy, our consciousness, right? Being more of a light presence in the world. And inner critic can speak up and say, well, you're not perfect. Who do you think you are? You got to be perfect in order to shine your light, or you've got to be successful in terms of the eyes of the world. You've got to heal your stuff, heal your issues, heal your relationships, heal your body, and then you can be a light in the world. Anybody have those kind of thoughts? that say, oh, you better hide out until you get your stuff together, right? You may be using a different word. So it's good to recognize those voices in our heads that trying to protect us, right? Trying to do some good work there, and say, okay, well, that's not the truth. That's not the truth. It's a limiting thought. And remembering that you are the hero or heroine of your own story. You're the hero of your story. We think that, oh, well, the person who's getting the most attention or is the most famous or whatever, they're the hero or heroine of the story. Now I'm like a background actor, however you see yourself. But really, you're the hero or heroine of your own story. Now, how often do we want someone else to be that for us? But aren't the most intriguing stories that we experience in movies or books, or they're about the person who you wouldn't expect to overcome, right? Like, you think about when Tolkien was writing The Lord of the Rings, why did he make Frodo the hero? The little hobbit, just a little hobbit. It's not like Gandalf, this big powerful wizard, right? He was one of the heroes. I mean, they're heroic characters, but he's the one, that captures the ring. Because he had brought something that the other characters couldn't do, right? So there's something that you bring that's unique and valuable and needed in the world. And And that's the interesting thing. How is this story going to turn my test into a testimony, as we sometimes say in the spiritual world? To see how is this experience going to be healing? That in the midst of whatever is going on in your life, that's the purpose of this challenge, is that you can experience freedom in the midst of that. It's not like, well, once I get all that stuff out of the way, then I can have liberation, then I can have freedom. And the spiritual work is finding the freedom in the midst. So that's where we develop our spiritual strength. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Thank you, Jeanmarie. Those are all our spiritual qualities that allow us to stand in the strength that we are, to stand in our truth. Recently, we went and saw the new version of The Little Mermaid. Anybody see that? The new live action Little Mermaid? I'm amazed at how they filmed that. How did they were in the water, they're real actors, and some of it's animated. Amazing. So love the developments that we have in digital technology. And Ariel, the Little Mermaid, she, a little spoiler alert, I mean, you have to know the story of Little Mermaid, right? Hopefully I'm not releasing this surprise to you. She had a siren song. She's a mermaid, right? And the thing that she most wanted is to walk on the land, to have that experience, to walk on the land. And in order to have that, the sea witch, Ursula, took her voice from her. That was the thing that was the most special thing to her. And so sometimes we lose that very thing that we consider to be the most special about us. Maybe as we age, we no longer are able to do things in the way that we were once able to, or physical conditions, life conditions, relationships change, and what you were known for, what you considered your most prized aspect of yourself is not available or has changed. But we have strength, courage, and wisdom. That is always available, and that's what makes us the hero or heroine of our story. Those are those qualities. So what Ariel did when she didn't have her voice, that was the thing that just enticed the men. They were falling in love with her voice and that kind of thing. That's how Prince Eric heard her voice, and that's what he remembered. We didn't have that, and so she stayed in her faith and was able to walk through, and it turns out okay for Ariel. See the movie and find out if you want to see how her heroine story concluded for her. Jesus was a revolutionary. He's the hero that we look to in our spiritual path, our master teacher, way shower, elder brother. And his message was not well received by the government of his time. We receive it well, as we know he's our spiritual leader. And in his time, he faced a lot of resistance, and he found freedom in the midst of that persecution. And reading through the Gospels, you can see how he was able to be with those kind of attacks and questioning and persecution even up until his crucifixion, and was able to find peace through his faith and find freedom in and still be in that human experience, engaged in it, right? He kept his focus on faith, and that allowed him to be a healer in the world rather than letting his detractors determine who he was, right? And say, oh, those people in Nazareth, when I went and preached there, they ran me out of town. That's in Scripture, that he got ran out of his hometown. He didn't say, well, I better stop there. They didn't want my message. That's enough for Jesus. No, he kept going. So he was led by his own guidance and understanding of who he was that didn't have to do with what other people thought of him. So as our fifth basic principle in unity, that it's not enough to know the truth, we must take action and live it. So our work here is to serve the world, That's why we do these spiritual practices, practice these principles to allow that truth to work in our lives so that we can be of service to others and share who we are in the way that we are guided to do that. One way that we can serve the world and be a light is living from our wholeness. Unity author and minister Eric Butterworth, he said that there's an allness even within your illness. So that's no excuse to not be a light in the world, that your wholeness is always present no matter what's going on in the body, what's going on in your life. So we can know wholeness in the midst of any illness or any disharmony, dis-ease. When you share your heroine journey with people, you tell your story of resilience, of strength, courage, and wisdom. That's how you inspire others, by how you came through that or how you're living in the midst of that and how you're finding freedom even as you're going through that. And there's a great example in the book that I wanted to share with you about one of the authors, Alicia Whitsitt. She's Linda's daughter. This is the first book that they wrote together, and when they got together and had this idea to write the book, Alicia was very excited, and she was in a really good place in her life. She had started a new job. Physically, she was feeling great. She was having high energy levels. She was very productive at work. And she felt she was resilient, and she felt whole in every sense of the word. And so she was excited because she wanted to author a book from that place, from that awareness. And then she hit a rough patch. She had autoimmune symptoms that showed up. They were flaring up for the remainder of writing the book. And she could have used that as a reason to stop. She had a deadline. She and her mom had a deadline for this book to be complete, and she was in constant pain. She had flu-like symptoms where she'd have to miss 2 or 3 days of work at a time, and that was on a regular basis. She didn't know when her flare-ups would show up, when they would end, and she panicked that she would miss the deadline and she would disappoint her mom in the process. And then she had a shift. She decided and knew that this was not going to be a come out on the other side story. It's this ongoing experience she had. She recognized that it wasn't that, and that when she changed her perspective, she learned that she was going to really live what this book teaches, which is to approach even this situation where she was having these autoimmune symptoms from her wholeness, So she adjusted her work schedule. She wrote when she could. And she knew that by doing this, that someone who was reading the book needed that version of herself, needed the version who was going through that challenging physical situation and still finding the way to be free, have freedom, and to shine her light. She wrote this: "Do you feel as if you've been handed a surplus of lemons and don't have the energy to make lemonade? Then you may relate to and be encouraged by my experience." So it may feel like you don't have the energy to make lemonade out of the lemons of whatever situation you may find yourself in your life. There are some big challenges that many of us face. And you can find freedom in the midst. It's guaranteed in the midst of what you face. And this book showed how she shined her light in the world. Jesus said this, one of my favorite passages from Matthew 5:14-16. "You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hidden. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." This is really up to you to let your light shine, to recognize it. Are you doing that? Are you doing that to the extent that you really are doing it to the extent that you allow yourself to do it? in Prosperity Plus 3. I'm teaching that class now. And one of the things that came up this week is a really memorable part where Mary Morrissey, the instructor of the course, she shares that there's a difference between a thermometer and a thermostat. You know, a thermometer is what can tell you a temperature. It gauges a temperature. But a thermostat is where you set the temperature. You set the temperature. And she said, you want to check your thermostat to see where are you set for happiness? Where are you set for joy, for abundance? You may have it set too low, way too low, that you can adjust that setting on your thermostat. You can reset it to experience more good in your life, to notice where you're limiting yourself. Well, I came to Unity and everybody was hugging and so loving, and that didn't feel right because normally I'm just sad and, I don't know, whatever it is. Well, I can just adjust my thermostat and allow for more joy and love and really feel the authenticity of what is present, because maybe it doesn't feel authentic for me because the only thing was my thermostat was set too low. I can turn it up, raise my energy and my volume on my life to live a more expanded, free life. Brené Brown warns us in this way: you either walk into your story and own your truth, or you live outside of your story hustling for your worthiness. Hustling for your worthiness. Think about that, how you may have hustled to want someone to see me for who I am. Your worth is not based on who you are from society's perspective. That can change. You can be the major social media influencer, and then the next day something comes out and all your followers leave you. Those kind of things, they come and go, right? Your true worth is based on what you are. What you are. You are a light in the world, and you are here because you are necessary. So I want to close this with sharing with you an affirmation from the book. And this is an affirmation to recognize your worth. And so as I share it with you, allow these words to be your words, and allow yourself to hold this in your consciousness. Centered in my awareness of an infinite source and universal mind, I breathe and know I am enough. I am enough of power, wisdom, and strength. I am enough of understanding, order, will, and release. I am enough of faith, zeal, imagination, and life. Although I am not all of God, or source or mind all at once, I am enough of that infinity, enough for this moment of need and realization. Whenever my personal memories give me the false impression of not being enough, I deliberately turn from my past and claim my divine identity. Whenever I interpret the words or actions of another as a judgment of my inferiority, I choose to disclaim my errant thoughts in favor of the truth that I am enough. Whenever I experience a failure, setback, or disappointment, I remind myself that I am courageous enough to strive for fulfillment. I affirm my strength of character to know that every circumstance and every experience appear for love. Love is the great magnet of the universe. My calling to be unified and whole in every experience, whether labeled good or bad. I am enough of divine love for everything and everyone I encounter every day. I am. And this is the truth, my friends. I'm grateful for your presence, your light, and your attention this evening. Thank you for being here, and go be a light in the world. Namaste.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.